Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to The Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789. KOG and Company. Are your unique gifts and talents changing the world? Do you desire to belong to a community of unity? Visit KOGpassion.com to learn more about the Unleash Your Dopeness movement.
Good evening. Good evening. I am Dr. Ashandra Batiste, and we are here on the Docs on the Sphere Network, where we are here to educate, inform, and empower you about health and wellness topics. I thank you for joining me tonight. I am, of course, a dentist, and you can find me at my private dental office, which is Elite Dental Wellness, which is located at the corner of Fondren and Westheimer in Houston, Texas. And the number there is 713-789-8680. Or you could go to my website, which is www.houstondentalwellness.com. Of course, if you want to follow me on any of my social media, I am at hotdoc.com on Instagram and on all other social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, etc. I am Ashandra Batiste. I'm also simultaneously sick and pregnant, so I would like to get the humanitarian award for being so here in the present. I just want everyone to know that. And I just so happen to be in the stew by myself because Dr. Simone is, of course, gallivanting. I think she's on the West Coast this week. Who quite knows? However, she is not here, but we do have a special guest that has chosen and is sacrificing his time all the way from Chicago. And his name is Dr. Obari Cartman. He is a Chicago native, and he actually went to undergrad at the other HU because I went to the real HU, my grad program, my dental school program, So I got to throw that little shade in there. But he did go to Hampton, where he received his undergraduate degree, and he got his PhD in clinical and community psychology from Georgia State. He has a book out right now. It's geared towards young men, and it's called Ladies Man, Conversations for Young Black Men About Relationships and Manhood. So please, welcome, Dr. Cartman. How are you?
Hey, I am doing very well.
Good.
I'm better than you. Sick or pregnant. So congratulations also.
The population would be extinct if y'all had to carry kids and
You're
maybe
right.
catch like a cold or really bad sinusitis like I have now. So
Yeah,
the
totally.
population would be like, over it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm good. Yeah. So
you're
so please forgive my voice. It's typically not this raspy, but maybe it'll give us extra viewers and listeners with this sexy Anita Baker that I got going on right now. How are
yeah.
you?
Well, at Hot Doc. I'm good. Life is good.
Good, good. Well, please give all of our listeners and viewers who you are, what you're about, why you got into doing what you're doing now.
Again, Dr. Obari Cartman. I am Chicago native. Back home now doing work. A lot of it is around masculinity, mental health. I do a lot of stuff around culture and identity. I've always been interested in just wellness and the well-being of families and communities, and psychology was just a good fit for me. I've always been into like how people work, why people do what they do, and we're at a moment now where I feel like a lot of the problems that people see on the surface as crime or violence or unemployment or lack of success in a variety of ways, I think have a tie-in that is becoming, I think, clear for folks that has to do with mental health, with the way with the messages we tell ourselves, with the way parents train children. I think that there's a lot in the realm of like how we perceive things, how we approach things that is about attitude shifts, it's about decision making, about like psychology kinds of stuff. And so I'm interested, particularly in the world today, thinking about how to articulate ways to connect those issues to the things that are concerning the world. Particularly, I do a lot of work in Black communities with young, impoverished, urban inner city kind of work. So that's sort of my specialty,
Got
what my
you.
passion is.
Got you. So you've really honed in on something that you feel a relates directly to you, which is
Hmm.
of course the young black male kind of view and what they get. And so you chose that to kind of be your platform for where you kind of have chosen to affect society, shall I say?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. That's really, really awesome. And where can people find you? Like, if they want more information on where you are, tell people where they can find you.
I'm on the Twitters and the internets, social medias. Oh, at O Cartman One is my Twitter handle and my Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I have a fan page and a personal page. I have a website, www.drobaricartman.com, DROBARICARTMAN. Um, those are the best ways for me.
Perfect, perfect. So if anybody wants to find him, he's everywhere. Um,
I
and
am.
and when I talked to him earlier, he was actually traveling from New York to back to Chicago because you were doing some
Yeah.
sort of speaking engagement, correct?
Yes, yes. I was out in Philly and New York and Connecticut, just sharing the work, moving around.
That's awesome. That is so wonderful. We are very blessed to have you for today. I think that today is a great time to discuss and kind of hone in on some pretty important and people don't tend to talk about it enough until it comes into the
Mhm.
media. But it's
Yeah,
domestic violence awareness month.
yeah.
And it just so happens to be that I feel like most of the time people aren't discussing domestic violence.
Yeah.
And it just so happens to be that between domestic violence, sexual assault, these kinds of storylines have been kind of busy this week.
Mhm.
We've had I don't know if you even heard Nene Leakes made a really horrible joke about she was
Mhm.
getting heckled and she made a really horrible joke about hoping that the heckler was going to get raped by her Uber
Yeah,
driver. Like
yeah, yeah,
things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And so now everybody's talking about it, but it's not because we are consciously and consistently talking about something that affects not just our community, but every community.
No, I agree with that. I think the part of the root of the lack of conversation about domestic violence, intimate partner violence, is because for the most part, the large majority of the victims of that are women, and we just tend not to talk about women problems as often as we do. So, if in terms of like police brutality, if a young black man got shot, Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, I can name a list of names, there isn't the same type of outcry when a woman gets shot, when a trans person gets shot. So part of that just speaks to a larger issue around what the society deems as important. And time again, women are always at the last to get attention and awareness around the issues that affect them the most. So I
Right.
think,
I would agree with you. I would 100% agree with you, considering that many of the abused or the victims are women. Now they're not all women, but many of them are,
hmm
and men surely aren't talking about it if they are getting abused by their significant other,
hmm
right?
And there was what's the guy, Terry Crews? He came out maybe
He
the same
did.
around this
He
week
did.
too.
He did.
Talking
He actually
about
did. He came out because of this Harvey Weinstein huge storyline that's been going on since like Monday. And Harvey
okay.
Weinstein's this big, huge producer, exec in Hollywood. And according to the stories that these young women are saying, is that this has been happening for several years. Like this isn't the last.
hmm
It hasn't just happened over the last 2 years. This has been happening
Yeah.
for for decades.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he's extremely powerful. He has his
yeah.
own company that he was actually
Mhm.
terminated from. And his wife stood beside him all weekend
Mhm.
until about 2 days ago. She said that she can't sit by him any longer. And these aren't women that you would say, oh, you don't have any power. You're talking
Yeah,
about like Angelina Jolie has a
yeah, yeah,
story dealing
yeah,
with
yeah,
him.
yeah.
It's not, and I am not minimizing anyone's feelings or emotions about this, but it's not the no ones of the group. It's not
Mhm.
someone who does
Mhm.
not have any money or power. It's
Right.
just the fact that he had more power over them in those moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it was trying to get a role or
Mhm.
they're trying to
Mhm.
cast or they were already casted.
Mhm.
His concern was their concerns were definitely like, okay, who's gonna believe me, and
Yeah.
if if I say anything, will I lose my money? Will I lose my career? And
Right.
and women, or victims probably do have to consider that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, as far as it being like a cultural thing, because they feel like it's something. A lot of the discussions have been it's a cultural thing in Hollywood.
Mhm. Mhm.
What is your perspective on that?
No, I mean, absolutely. The Hollywood is just another arm in a larger cultural system that has very clear hierarchies. Black is under white, woman is under man, poor is under rich, able is over handicapped. Like all these things where capitalism is based on there having to be distinctions, and that somebody's got to be on the top, and somebody's got to be on the bottom. And
Sure.
so when you find an industry like that that's as cutthroat as Hollywood can be, where it's a very fickle industry. So there's always this constant consideration of what are the consequences worth, the principles of it,
Sure.
whether or not they felt like they were harmed enough to ruffle anybody's feathers, even if they were right, even if they have evidence. Like there's a lot of shame around, even claiming yourself as a victim,
Yeah.
because you have to present yourself as at least appearing weak in that moment, right? And that's not fun for anybody. You got to drag up old stuff, and then there's a whole other issue around people believing you and not believing you, and then you becoming a troublemaker. Like all these things, I think have to go into the minds of women in particular who have less of a standing or less of a footing in these kind of male-dominated industries where they always competing against each other and trying to think about whether or not every decision they make is going to have a ripple effect over careers that are already tenuous for different reasons.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as we're talking about women, we have some women that actually sponsor this portion of the show, and they're called
Okay.
the Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education?
No, I
33%.
didn't.
Did you know that? 33% or more than 77 millions of Americans don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they don't have enough savings. Don't become one of these statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463 or email us at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask us how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new face of the new age of financial services. So
No.
there was a
Is
story.
that water also sponsored?
I'm sorry.
Is that water a sponsor, or is that just it's not product placement?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So we have people
No, I mean
who.
the water bottle right there that you're drinking from.
Oh, I don't
Is
know
that
who this is actually. We used to have mugs, but they don't have a mug for me today. So product placement is
they
typically
owe
the
us.
sphere. So we
They,
need to. I'm gonna talk
they
to
want
Gary
us
about
all.
this. This is unacceptable. I want my mug back. So we're in a new space, so it's exciting. But we don't have my mug. We don't have my sphere mug. So there's a story in Houston that you would probably have not yet heard about, but there's a
Mhm.
story in Houston about a young mother that was found dead after about 4 or 5 days after accusing her boyfriend, which just so also happens to be her 2-week-old son's father, of domestic abuse. She was a Houston Independent School District's employee. She was a reading specialist at one of the schools, and no one knew her struggle. No one, according to the news story as of yet, has come out and said, "Oh man, I knew that this was happening to my friend, my sister, my daughter." No one has said anything, and he was released on a personal bail because he did not have the $5,000, and so they released him. And then 5 days later, he actually called and said that she was non-responsive. And so it's one of these things that and this story came out yesterday. So today's October 13th. It came out October 12th. He's currently arrested now for investigation of her murder. However, I do not understand how the judicial system let her down so much. Why is it that someone who has been accused of domestic violence can get out on a personal bail, meaning they just said, "Oh, you don't have it, so it's okay. You're going to pay us back." When you get your sentence, or when you don't get your sentence, you'll be fined. How do they let this person out? I just don't understand it. When there's drug cases that get held longer, when there's what I mean? I don't understand this. And he has a very long criminal history. So I mean, I don't know if you have any perspective on this, but give me your thoughts.
It's a tragic story for sure. My first thought about it is just the idea that, there's always the burden of proof, and in those kind of instances, I feel like we often give the benefit of the doubt to the man, unless it's like clear, obvious evidence. Like you really gotta have like bumps and bruises and blood. Like there's gotta be all this kind of evidence before someone considers a woman's testimony as truth, because people don't want to get caught up in the drama of it. It gets too controversial. And so I think that the thing that's really problematic about that as a narrative in a month like domestic awareness is because I think we still have this idea in our head of like, sexual assault being this monstrous, the cape in the dark alley creeping out, or a stranger. And the most dangerous, the most insidious, the most prevalent cases of all of this kind of violence is, people that people know. It's emotional. There's not often signs or scars. There's not often blood. It's often much more subtle than that, and much more like long-standing than that. And so it can become hard for, I don't know, for the public outside of it to take sides, because people don't like, oh, well, I didn't see him hit her, right? She didn't come, crying to me, and so, and what that does for men is it makes men feel like, well, I didn't kill no woman, right? I didn't do we try to distance ourselves from the really bad cases, right? We try to say I didn't like, and I think the thing that's much more problematic are the mild, the like day to day, and when we say rape culture, it really is just like an everyday kind of language that we use.
Sure.
Sure. I have sons. I got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and like I've heard somebody be like, "Oh, you're gonna be a lady killer." Like, "Oh, he's a little player, a little pimp." Right? Just this like subtle building blocks of a hierarchy, and this sense of superiority that men are trained to have, that in those intimate moments, without having any other way to exercise power or express themselves or deal with their shame or their ego or their embarrassment or whatever it is that is happening in the house in that moment, the women often become the victims of the man's inability to regulate himself, to have emotional maturity, to take the distance, to step away, to talk through, because he feels like he has been giving the audacity through his training to take matters in his own hands. And it's often violent. So we teach violence and we teach superiority, and then in the house, women are often silent victims of that. And it's often not really like a big dramatic kind of thing. It's really just a small,
Sure.
like
Sure.
threatening things. I mean, and so I think that's what happens. I think that when that happens without like clear evidence, bruises and bumps and blood, the people feel like they can't take a stand on it.
Got it. Got it. Well, I mean, unfortunately for this young lady and her 2 week old son, this young lady is passed away, and
Yeah,
her child's father is now locked behind bars, and a baby is left behind. He is
yeah,
being taken care of by relatives. So my prayers are with this family as they grieve the loss of their daughter
mhm,
and potentially a man that they did not know was doing all of this.
yeah.
Their image of their family and this man kind of being completely tarnished. So my prayers are with them. However,
That's-
we are appreciative of everyone of all of our viewers on Facebook Live. We ask that you subscribe to this show. Please, please, please. We ask that you subscribe because we have many places that you can. It's through iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Not just our show, but oh, and iHeartRadio. So not only do we have iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher, we just added iHeartRadio. So there's no excuse to not subscribe. I mean, there's Docs, there's G is for Gentlemen, there's All Things Beauty. There's so many wonderful shows on the Sphere. Of course, ours is great, but there's hundreds, not hundreds, but I feel like the content are hundreds of episodes of other wonderful shows. Review our show in iTunes with constructive feedback, please. Share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family and friends. Of course, every topic that we talk about every week is important. However, domestic abuse and the silence that comes with it, it would be nice if someone just feels like they're supported, and maybe that gives them enough to speak out, get some help. And if you don't mind reaching into your pocketbook and donating to this mission of bringing enriched and inspiring content to you guys each and every week. And you can donate at www.thesphere. Hold on. My nose is so stuffy, so please excuse me. www.thesphere.tv/donate. Okay. Thank you so much, Facebook Live. Okay, so Dr. Cartman, we're about to
Yeah.
go dive into this domestic violence and kind of what this is, and
Okay.
give rattle off some definitions. Okay, so the domestic violence is actually defined, and it's also called currently now intimate partner violence, or IPV. So domestic abuse or relationship abuse is a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. Um, it seems like there's an average of 1 out of every 12 seconds there is a woman or a partner getting abused in a relationship. Um, that is a lot. that and we're
Yeah.
talking worldwide here. We're not talking about like Houston, Texas. We're talking
Right.
everywhere. But these statistics are just kind of mind blowing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
One
I,
on. Go ahead.
I think part of the thing that has to be a shift in the movement around preventing domestic violence is using stats like that and having like more men be a part of the conversation. Like
Mm,
I know there's conferences, there's meetings, women have sister circles around this issue, but this can't be a thing that women can solve. Like
mm.
this isn't a woman's issue to fix. I think that women can come together to heal each other, to support each other, to raise awareness, to talk about tools to prevent it. But to stop violence against women has to include training men to be different, having different values, having different codes of conduct, and there's often very few men in the room whenever there's a domestic violence conversation.
And
And
why is that? Why is it that women can have a very, you know, good, healthy conversation, or there's these support groups for women? Why is it men are not included in this? Or what is it about men or young men or old men that make them just
Mhm.
say, no, this has nothing to do with me?
hmm I mean, I think it's part of what we were talking about earlier, just the idea that we all feel like we are exempt from this as an issue because we're not the worst of the guys. And so we could be doing stuff that supports this issue and the culture of rape and the hierarchies in general. But as long as we're not literally actually like assaulting a woman, then we feel like it's not us and our problem until it comes into our house, until our sister is affected. We don't see also a connection between the way that man culture and rape culture are connected in ways that will eventually impact the people that we love until it's too late. And so I think that a lot of the conversation that I hear about it is in getting women to like avoid the toxic men that are in their life. We teach women to take self-defense classes, to carry mace, to get pocket knives, to get security in their apartment. Like all of the conversation is all around getting women to be different and to
Right.
change something because they're aware, y'all are aware of the harm and the threat, and because we are on the other side of it, as whoever's on the side of the power does not have as much of a perceived obligation to change the dynamics.
Okay.
And in this
So
case, it's the men. It's the black men have a hard time because we like stuck in the middle of this place where we
sure.
are oppressed on one end, but we have male privilege in the other
On the
relative
other.
ways. So
Yeah.
we have a hard. I think we got to sort that out. Like think about power dynamics in ways that are much more nuanced and impact all of us. We got to think about this as a problem that impacts all of us.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about a statistic that says 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an
Yeah.
intimate partner in the United States, right? So that means that that's over 12 million women and men over the course of a year.
Right.
And just like you were saying, I mean, we just had this conversation about how Nelly, and I know you weren't really following it much, but Nelly had gotten into a situation, or the woman had gotten either or. He was in a situation earlier this week with rape allegations, and Wendy Williams came out and pretty much was like, "Girlfriend, don't be on the bus. If you're not on the
Mm-hmm.
bus, then you can't get raped, right?" Well, the
Mm-hmm.
conversation was like, wait, why is it her fault to get
Right.
raped versus having the conversation with men about not raping?
Right.
And so pretty
Absolutely.
much that's what you're saying right now is that
Absolutely.
the conversations are not happening with men on how
Mm-hmm.
to manage their male privilege with their maybe black oppression,
Mm-hmm.
with their wanting to have
Absolutely.
power in their relationship. So you're saying like it's a conversation that you need to have with your young men early on how to treat
Absolutely.
women, have
Mm-hmm.
conversations because in a household, I mean, I'm married, I have 2.5 kids and a dog. There's always a
Mm-hmm.
power struggle, and not in a way of like
Mm.
of its offensive at any stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination, but it's a power
Yeah.
struggle on who's responsible for this. Why am I mad about
Right.
something? Why is he mad about something? Who's going to
Yeah.
run
Yeah.
this and run that? Like, it is a struggle to get that balance.
Yeah.
And my
And
husband
you
has,
got to add
you
a
know,
layer of a moment in most major cities in the country where the black male unemployment rates are skyrocketing. And so you have men that are taught, on the one hand, what it means to be a man, to have power, to be a protector and provider, includes being able to take care of the bills and be a breadwinner and bring home the bacon. And then we have all this language still, but then we can't get jobs or we're lured into illegal activities and then we get locked up. All this stuff is happening in the lives of a lot of these communities and families where the men are having this everyday struggle of having to assert their dominance, even if it's a performance, even if it's not real power, even if it's just a temporary like expression of feeling of power, but it's not real power. The part of the retraining for men has to be at very young ages, teaching not like how to treat a woman in like superficial ways, not like to take the chair out, but like having a fundamental reverence for the value of the place of women and the role of women and the importance and like having a principle and by which your manhood is intricately connected to upholding and revering the power of women as the
I
life
got
force.
you.
I'm talking to a pregnant woman right now. We have been outsmarted the process where every single human being that comes to this planet came just like in the process that came that you're enduring. I say enduring because you're sick right now.
I
That
am.
you're
I
blessed.
am.
That
No,
you're
it's
blessed
I'm
to
enduring.
experience. Right?
I'm enduring. I'm 33 weeks, so everything's an enduring everything. Every
Right.
sleeping, I'm enduring. Like it's all a struggle. So it's I appreciate your empathy. Definitely.
Right. And so I think we're in the moment having to renegotiate all of these, all of the roles, the power dynamics, the who does what and why, and try to have some like realistic conversations about the conditions that we're in and the ways that we need to structure our families so that we can keep each other safe and take better care of each other and be accountable to each other in ways.
Well, I will say I have a lot of questions for you about how how psychologically we can make this happen.
Yeah.
Some ideas,
Yeah.
but let me spit out this place so that if anyone has a business and they want to advertise on the Sphere, let me give them their
Sure.
tools to do it. Because this portion of the show is actually sponsored by the Sphere. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at the Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States, as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. So, Dr. Cartman, you were suggesting, that pretty much some of this is so ingrained into young men. What
Hmm.
is it about a young female, besides the fact of the obvious, like, I don't have a black eye, but he says I'm ugly every day,
Mm-hmm.
or he calls me stupid?
Hmm.
The emotional bit, right?
Hmm.
The toying
Hmm.
with the emotions. Tell me how a woman can be a better and avoiding that kind of toxicity in her life, because
Hmm.
not all women, and this is because my ex-husband had an ability to manipulate situations that
Hmm.
put me in a place of feeling emotionally vulnerable, and I'm not that
Yeah.
chick. Like, I'm the chick that's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
get out, get your stuff. Matter of fact, don't even get your stuff. Your stuff will be put
Yeah.
out for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
fact
Yeah.
that I could have been very easily emotionally
Mm-hmm.
abused to the point of being turned,
Mm-hmm.
where I didn't believe in myself and I felt like everything he was saying was true. I was
Yeah.
I was in a place of being very, very sad about a lot of the things that he would say.
Yeah.
Not to the point where I believed them and not to the point where I stuck around, but not every woman's like that. So,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is it about women in this situation that we can work on?
Mm-hmm.
Besides, of course, our support groups, but what is it in the culture or in the upbringing that maybe kind of be ingratiated in some of our young females?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it has to do with sort of this overarching societal hierarchy we've been talking about, where women are taught in subtle ways their whole life that they are less than, less valuable, less intelligent. Black women are less beautiful. The Dove thing reminds us of that. And so I think there are these competing messages that their women are always getting about their worth and their value and what they deserve. And I think that the beginning of preventing getting caught up in a situation where you're being manipulated starts with teaching young women their value, and then them having them be firm and rooted in their purpose and their character, so that they cultivate this like sense of self that becomes more aware of danger in the circumstance. They can spot the BS coming a mile away,
Yeah.
and if they're less dependent upon a man or anybody else for their sense of self, to provide worth for them, then they become less vulnerable and susceptible to a man just coming in and saying anything or giving gifts or providing affection. And so that becomes the tools for manipulation. And then women sort of, become like playthings for the man. But if they come in and they know who they are, and they immediately have a standard for which they accept to be treated, to be talked to, then it makes it a lot more difficult for a man to just come in and say anything. And some of that, intergenerational. Some of that happens where, young girls aren't taught by either parents or teachers, like adults in their life, have a responsibility in instilling that in young people. And so, if you have a young girl that was never told that she was beautiful, was never touched affectionately with care and love, platonically, was not ever told that she all by herself is valuable without having to do anything to earn that value. Like if you never get that message, then by the time you're a teenager or a young adult, then you really become extremely vulnerable to manipulative men who and some like men can smell that. Like men can they seek that out
Sure.
because a lot of men have their own deficiencies, their insecurities, So you got adults trying to play out their lack of power by finding these semblances of power by looking for these opportunities to manipulate and to hide behind and all these kind of things are happening. And I think that the beginning of developing people that can withstand that, can see it coming, really starts with having pride, having cultural, what I'm saying, roots and foundations, knowing who you are,
Sure.
who you belong to, and stuff that like particularly black communities have had a hard time with in this country.
Well, and I think that one of the other pieces is, like you said, so much of this is cultural. We have some wonderful music that we all love. I mean,
Hmm.
hip hop culture is ingratiated in many of us, and this is white, black. I mean, at this point in time, it's
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but in a lot of these lyrics, there is a clear misogynistic point
Hmm.
of view. Um, and I remember very distinctly, oh God, Rick Ross's "You Ain't Know." You
Hmm.
don't even know that, like, I've just pretty much drugged you and had sex
Right.
with you. And that song, like, before I could figure it out, of course, it became a huge hit. Everybody
Hmm.
was singing it. Of
Right.
course, hip hop is very, very beat driven at this
Yeah.
point. So much of the lyrics people don't care about, or don't, they're not leery or concerned about.
Right.
However, the older I have gotten, the more concerned I have become with these lyrics, and whether I like, meaning, it doesn't matter if it's like misogynistic or rape culture or these things. It's not just that. It's like, if I don't like a song but the beat is amazing, I'll be like, I don't like the lyrics. So I've just kind of gotten a
Hmm.
little bit more clarity on, like, lyrics. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a laundry list of songs that I was able to find, and they have like these little snippets. Everybody from Jay Z to, of course, Rick Ross, UGK,
Hmm.
of course, 3 6 Mafia. It's a
Right.
whole bunch of people that have some, foul lyrics. Like, it's,
Yeah.
and once again, I'm not saying that it's like these songs aren't hitting. I'm just saying that these songs are songs that, like, our children then kind of listen to, and
Right.
some of those things. And I believe in, like, not letting your spirit be exposed to certain things. Our
Yeah.
children's spirits are being exposed to these things that they're dancing to, and they're coming up with songs to,
Yeah.
and dance moves to, that are negative.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that you're absolutely right. I appreciate you bringing in the spiritual aspect of it. I think that I'm a drummer, right?
Ah,
I study drums. I understand the mechanism, the science behind playing certain rhythms as not even like a psychological tool, but an opening of the way for spirit. Like if you any church you go to, people are familiar with like the Holy Ghost beat. Like there's a certain beat that happens and where the spirit moves in a different way. And I think that we have to be careful to distinguish hip hop in its purest form and the way it was developed and what corporations have done to it. And so a lot of the artists you're mentioning, by the time it gets popular, um, and the popular part of it, the mechanism of the industry of the radio has the power to have like the savviness to create beats where even if you don't like it at first, by the 20th time, it can be your jam. Like you don't even we're not even thinking about what we're listening to oftentimes. And so I think that we're not going to we're not organized well enough right now to dismantle the radio or the corporations that are playing that music. But I do think that we have to be much more deliberate about giving our young people the tools to critically evaluate what they're listening to. So a lot of
absolutely.
that in my work means printing the lyrics out. Always, I go in, I have a group of young men. I ask them what they listen to, who they like.
Uh
We
huh.
have to spend some time interrogating what it means to like a thing,
Okay.
right? So to like might just mean distinguishing what part of it I like. So if I like the beat, say that, like say I like the beat. But that don't lump the whole song into just because the song is full of other things. And most often, they, like you said, they really just don't even know what they're saying. And
Right.
we say words. I used to use this year. I've been using Migos "Bad and Bougie" all the time. And that's been something I go to. And so part of it, I go to it because it's popular, and I've had women defend that song to me so hard because like women like the stuff too,
They
and
do.
women have a relationship to hip hop because and I think it's difficult to ask women to be the ones to like champion the the stopping of the certain songs I don't think that should be women's responsibility. I think that men should be more careful and thinking about what messages are in there, and not that be again another burden that women have to do. But it's until I print the lyrics out of Bad and Butch in particular that like I've seen rooms of like old, college educated, like really sophisticated feminist women that were like, I had no idea that is what they were saying. Like, it never occurred to me. You hear
Yeah.
lyrics, the hook, and then you think like a lot of women think that's an empowering song. But
It's
like
not.
it's just a moment to just print the lyrics out, and for me that means helping young people to be able to read the lyrics almost like they're watching a movie. Like I want young people to hear hip hop and not think they're keeping it real, which is their slogan, but to think about the same relationship they have with Migos or Jay Z or Chief Keef or whoever it is as they would watching Denzel in Training Day. Like you don't walk
Sure.
away thinking Denzel's like that. He's just sort of playing a part. And so
Right.
part of it is printing lyrics out, interrogating line by line, but also unpacking the industry and helping them see that all these people work for old white men for the most part, right? There's teams behind them. They got to get signed, to get the radio deals, to get the videos produced. There's a bunch of white people behind the scenes that are manipulating, that are tailoring the messages, and that they're benefiting from some of the destructive things that they're endorsing in this stuff, the drugs, the alcohol, all that kind of stuff. One of the things that I think is really dangerous about the connection in a lot of songs that isn't really blatantly as blatant as the Rick Ross song is almost every rap song that talks about sex and talks about drugs does so without really thinking about the impact on consent of being intoxicated, being high, being
Right.
drunk.
Right.
Um, I, I'm in schools all the time, and young people just have no idea that a woman can't give consent if she's under the influence. Like they just have not had the conversation about what it means to, if Rick Ross slipped a Molly in the girl, she was asleep, and
Right.
she didn't even know. But like even if she's not asleep, even if she's drunk, even if she's, they're doing, Molly's and Percocets, like they're doing really hard stuff, and sex is always included in the mix of the songs
It
of the
is.
video. So we need to just literally just teach men that part of what it means to give consent means to be clear-headed enough, and you want to have men that want that. Like part of the culture shift is to have men that don't want to trick a woman into giving her body away. Right? You want that to be lame for a guy that he feel like he got to get a drug to do it. So there's a
Right.
bunch of layers to the thing that needs to shift
Right.
for us.
Well, and I mean, like, and like you said, women, we sing these songs at the top of our
Hmm.
lungs just as
Yeah.
much as the young men are, or old
Right.
men, young men. It doesn't matter.
Right.
However, like, there's this list. There's a 25 most offensive rap songs ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I literally was looking at these. I was like, "Oh my god, I love that song!" Like,
Yeah.
literally, like I'm like, "Oh no, no, no!" But it's
Hey, that makes my work near impossible.
yeah,
I'm in the classroom. There's a bunch of boys, and I'm like we gotta respect our the women. We gotta honor and value them. And then I pull like a song out, and they're like, oh no, I learned that song from my sister. That's my sister's favorite song.
right,
I'm in there
right.
trying to defend this sister that's not in the room, and then she outside of the room is endorsing it. So it's a standstill for us. Like I'm in the room, like okay, it's really hard to move from that to get them to think different about it when women love the stuff.
When
So
women love the song. I mean, literally number 6 is Big Pimpin' with Jay
mhm,
Z, and it features UGK, which is One
yeah,
Time for Texas, right? And like,
right, right,
I could rap that entire song, and when I
yeah,
read these lyrics, when you put it in black and white, it's like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
no, like that's what I'm saying. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And these are
yeah,
things like clearly there's songs on this list that I'm like, okay, yeah, I never liked it, but there's songs on there that I'm like, oh no, not Notorious, not Big, not
mhm,
One More Chance, like Tupac's
right,
on the list. Like it's a
right,
lot of songs that people don't really Tyler the Creator's on here. Like it's a lot of songs and people that actually we respect as like brilliant, but that their
mhm,
rapping culture, they're kind of they are promoting this culture of women
mhm,
being less than a
Right.
drink, and more just about sex, and kind of shut up and do what I say for you to
Right.
do. And if you don't, like, there's a lot of punching and slapping and hitting and strangling
Yeah.
and all these
Yeah.
things that are in these lyrics that,
Absolutely.
like you said, I mean, it's an uphill battle for us and these
Yeah.
children. And
Yeah.
realistically, I mean, my children listen to a lot of radio,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise they'd be kind of zoned into the TVs in the back of the truck,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of want to have some conversation with them. And
Mm-hmm.
I also don't want them to go to school and be the only ones that they're like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
what? Like, so it's kind of like I don't want my kids to be the uncool kid too. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I'm like, you're right. Like, people say my son's gonna be a killer, lady killer. You gonna
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
killing
Yeah. Yeah.
him. When you gonna get a girlfriend? He's 4.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Right.
no girlfriends at 4.
Right. Right.
And so yeah, I think that I think that it's a, like you said, it's a very hard discussion to have, because
Yeah.
it's so important to us to have hip hop. But also the other piece is that the powers that be that spin that wheel, the ones who
Right.
play the music on the radio, you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
always think, what is their kind of what's their motive,
Yeah. Their motive is not black wellness. It's not
no,
strong families. It's not
no,
powerful communities. It's not.
that we
It's so, and
black
because of
wellness black
it's for
wellness
me.
by the powers that be, black wellness that the powers that be have never been
Right.
fed.
Yeah.
And so you have to think about that. You have to say, okay, why don't they play more J. Cole that's positive? Like, they
Right.
played that one song a lot, where he's having his first encounter having sex. That's
Yeah.
not positive.
Mm.
Like, yes, he talks about a condom. Yes, he talks about all these other things, but he has so much more other music out there, like
Yeah.
Neighbors, that doesn't get played.
Right.
And
Right.
so why not? Why not? That's actually even a better song. Like, when you listen
Right.
to it, you're like, man, this is actually a better song. But
Right.
it's because the powers that be, like you said, do not promote black wellness. So we as a
Right.
community have to promote black wellness and say, yes, you can know that song, that's great, but I want you to know that that song has all these lyrics in it that's not good, and we're not going to feed that into your soul. What we're going to feed into your soul is somebody positive, or you having a great a heavier weight on the positive stuff in your life, children and
Mm-hmm.
young people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Perfect, perfect. So, if you could just break down really quickly for me, what is, as far as the mind, like we have here, or I was able to find that an offender can have like an antisocial personality disorder, where they're deceitful. They repeatedly lie. They use aliases for conning others. But most people wouldn't consider them antisocial, because it's actually a personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Another offender or abuser could be a borderline personality disorder. So this is antisocial or borderline personality, which is a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships by alternating between extreme idealizations and devaluation. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty much these are the type of people that go from one end of the extreme to the
Mm-hmm.
next, and there's no like in between. So either you're
Right.
super stupid or you're super smart, and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna devalue, kind of, when I tell you you're smart, I'm actually gonna even
Mm-hmm.
devalue that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, our narcissistic personality disorders, which a lot of people feel like we have somebody in our White House that's a narcissist. And that's somebody that has a grandiose sense of self importance. And
Mm-hmm.
speaking of him, he's actually admitted to being an assault,
Right.
an offender,
Right.
because he's narcissistic. That means that you feel like you
Right. Right.
have
Right. Right.
so much power and you're so much bigger than anybody else that you can do pretty much whatever you want to do.
Right.
So is that pretty much where people fall, you think, Dr. Cartman?
Yeah, I think those are definitely the three categories that I feel like. I think the thing that I'll add to that as an awareness raising about sort of the mental health aspect of it is that often these people don't present as obviously sick. Like a lot of times they're very charming. The idea of them being on two ends of the extreme mean that when they are kind, when they are warm, that it like the inconsistency of it can be that much more jarring because like you really feel like you're trying to do what you can to get back on the affectionate part, to get the warm, the adoration part. And so, but because you don't know what guy's going to come home, you don't know which he's going to be because it's so unpredictable. That's why people stay. they stay for a long time because the good times were really that good.
Uh,
And women feel like if I can say the right thing, if I can wear the right thing, if I can like play
mm,
this smart enough, then I can elicit out of him,
only
right,
the
this
good side.
version of him that I get. And so
Yeah.
it's a very dangerous type of person that it's a very inconsistent man is a very dangerous man.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's the one thing that my husband is extraordinarily consistent, and I can appreciate that because I know what's going to make
Hmm.
him happy. I know what's going to
Yeah,
make him annoyed. Like I'm never
yeah,
surprised, and so
yeah, yeah,
consistency in a
yeah.
man is important. And I think that, like you said, I mean, it comes from young men getting kind of loved on and taught
Hmm.
by men who aren't, like you said, are struggling with unemployment and feeling
Yeah,
less than themselves and not able to
yeah,
provide the way they want to, and maybe
yeah.
having struggled with unemployment go down the line of choosing a criminal activity. Well, now they have
Right,
something on their record, so it just becomes a
right,
big huge cycle, and these young
right,
men aren't being shown how to be consistent because
right.
the men in their lives aren't able to do it. So
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
this is I want to talk about your book, but before we do that,
Hmm.
I want to bring up KOG and Company because that's my girl.
Hmm.
This portion of the show is sponsored by KOG and Company. Are your unique gifts and talents changing the world? Unleash Your Dopeness is a people empowerment movement built to encourage the masses to operate outside of their fears and have the gall to recklessly pursue their dreams and passions in life. Join thousands of others as we unlock the greatness that dwells inside. Shop dope gear at kogpassion.com. That's kogpassion.com and use coupon code DOPE exclamation point for 10% off exclusive Unleash Your Dopeness apparel. Act now. Sizes are selling out fast. Actually just got my Unleash My Dopeness sweatshirt last week. I am waiting for it to come in the mail. So I will be rocking it on the show hopefully next week. That's the goal. I got to rock it, Unleash My Dopeness. So Dr. Carmen, what I would
Yeah.
love is, because I feel like your book can help guide some of our viewers and listeners to help them with their young men in their lives,
Hmm.
because I mean the title of your book is Ladies Man: Conversations for Young Black Men About Relationships and Manhood. So
Yes.
can you
Yes.
give us, when you wrote it, how long it's been out, kind of any sort of information you would like to share so that our listeners can know why it's
Hmm.
important for them, and what age group does this talk to, kind of what's the
Hmm.
goal. Please, 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 please let us know.
Well, first, the spelling of the book, I have it here. It's a ladies' man, Lady apostrophe S.
Got it.
It's the flip on again, the socialization that men get where we're taught that women belong to us, they're our playthings. And so what I say is, as a man, I belong to my mother. Like I have an obligation to my mother, to serving her. These are my sisters. I have five actual blood sisters
Oh,
that
are
I'm
those your real sisters?
these are my real sisters.
Oh, that's cool.
And so part of what I write about is the shift in my thinking about what it means for me to be a man happening when I decided that the things that I was doing, the mistakes that I was making, the ways that I was dating was perpetuating a culture of manhood that would eventually impact my sisters. Like I can't continue to say I love them and I want the best for them and I want them to be in a world that's safe while I'm doing things that are giving permission to other men to eventually do that to them. So that was the beginning of the shift of me rethinking my manhood. And the book came out of I do a lot of therapy with boys. This becomes like this when I go to a place. It's not a lot of black men doing this. And so I would always get all the boys. And so I was in Connecticut doing an internship, and I had a man that was locked up, and he wanted me to send him a book, and I couldn't find the books that were written with young men in mind. And so I wrote that book. That day I was at a bookstore. Someone write the book that I would have wanted to send that boy. So I wrote a book that's very like conversational. There's no big fancy words. The analysis is really sophisticated, but the language is very straightforward. It just deals with all kinds of stuff. I talk about slavery and history and hip hop
Uh
and
huh.
politics and spirituality and character and communication. It's just a guide for young men to navigate the system, to develop their best, intentions, to find their purpose. It's more about manhood than relationships.
That's
The
wonderful.
ladies' man part is really just about having a manhood that at its base has a reverence for women that is different than I think that we're taught often.
Well, I will. My husband has a 501c3 called Suits for Sons, and part of it is them, my husband and a group of men, teaching young men. It's a series, so they're with these young men for about 8 months, and they graduate in May.
Okay.
And it's teaching them about everything from etiquette
Mm-hmm.
to resume building, to how
Okay.
to wear a suit,
Mm-hmm.
to what is the proper way to be in a business meeting, all those things. And one
Mm-hmm.
of them is etiquette and relationships. And so I'm gonna recommend that they at least invest in a few of these books so that these young men
Mm-hmm.
could maybe have a homework assignment, which
Yes,
would be
yes,
nice. Which would be
yes.
nice. So yeah,
Good, good.
I appreciate that kind of stuff, because I do feel like if we hide it in a book,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes stuff just don't get read, and that
That's
has been the case for our people for a very long time. And so I appreciate that you put it in a book,
yeah.
and we should encourage our young people to read more,
Absolutely.
because there's some amazing knowledge in books. So thank you for doing that for our young men, and I hope and pray that you're able to continue this moving forward. So please, Dr. Cartman, give everyone again where you are, where they can find you, and any sort of ending remarks that you would like to share.
The website is www.drobaricartman.com. DROBARICARTMAN. Same, put my name in on Facebooks, on Instagram at ocartman1, and Twitter same. I'll be in Houston later in the month at the Shrine of the Black Madonna doing a program about dispelling the myths about Black men. That is on December 28th, I believe, Saturday.
October.
October 28th at like 5 or 6
Okay.
at the Shrine of Black Madonna. So I'll be back there. I got a lot of family in Houston, so I come there pretty often. So
Well, hopefully when you come, you can bring some Chicago cool weather, because it's been just absolutely miserable. So I hope when you come, you can bring some air with you, because I appreciate the coolness.
I'll
Um,
do it.
I would I would like to thank you again for joining us this evening and sacrificing of your
Thank you.
time.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your time. We appreciate your expertise, and we pray for your success, Dr. Cartman. Once again, I am Dr. Chandra Batiste. Thank you for joining us on the docs on the Sphere Network. You can find me either if you need a filling, want a filling, or just want to come check me out in my dental office. It's Elite Dental Wellness, located on the corner of Fondren and Westheimer. And the website there is HoustonDentalWellness.com, or you can call me at 713-789-8680. If you just want to follow me and my antics on social media, that would be Instagram at hotdoc.com, or Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, et cetera, Ashandra Batiste. We thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we hope that you download, share this episode with your friends and family, because it is extremely important to get this awareness out, to educate our young men and our young women on their value and how they can be assets to our society. Thank you so much. Peace out.